Fred's the main reason I'm in this team and I got the opportunity to be here.
Whispers were circulating. Headlines throughout Italy were shouting. Fred Vasseur appeared to be teetering on the brink. Ferrari's challenging beginning to the 2025 season had sparked enormous conjecture about the team's management destiny. 0 victories, gigantic distances to McLaren, intensifying pressure, and then came shocking news reports. Vasseur might be dismissed if situations don't improve. However, right when controversy was building in Maranello, Lewis Hamilton marched directly into the chaos and extinguished it with one of the most impactful declarations we've witnessed this season. Speaking before the Canadian Grand Prix, Hamilton didn't restrain himself. "Fred represents the core reason I'm here," he announced, not softly, not tactfully, but with complete determination. During a media session loaded with strain and expectation, Hamilton sliced through the confusion and made absolutely evident that he's not simply racing for Ferrari, he's racing with Fred Vasseur. And if anybody believes the team leader's position is in danger, Hamilton's response is clear: think twice. However, that's just the start of what he expressed. So before we proceed further, press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us until the end because we're going to analyze everything Hamilton just uncovered, how it connects to Ferrari's internal battles, and what it truly represents for the Scuderia's future. Let's step back because what's happening at Ferrari this season wasn't simply unexpected, it was beyond imagination. The recruitment of Lewis Hamilton was meant to be transformative, a 7-time world champion joining with Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's remarkable home-developed talent. It represented an ideal partnership, the type of combination you create when you're not just wishing to succeed, you're preparing to rule. The goal was obvious: defeat Red Bull, rekindle Maranello's passion, restore the Scuderia to the summit. However, 9 competitions in, that goal is burning. Ferrari finds itself roughly 200 points behind McLaren, not Red Bull, McLaren, in the Constructors' Championship. They haven't reached the highest podium step once, secured some reasonable outcomes certainly, but Hamilton has battled to control the SF25 with his strongest finish in the early rounds. And the stress is choking, not only externally but internally. Because in Italy, where Ferrari is more faith than racing team, patience doesn't exist, and criticism emerged quickly. Media sources started hinting that Fred Vasseur, the individual recruited to fix the Binotto period problems, was already being prepared for departure. Stories suggested the management wasn't functioning, that outcomes weren't adequate, that Ferrari's executives wanted rapid changes. However, when the noise hit its peak, Lewis Hamilton moved forward in Montreal and brought everything to a standstill. With the world's attention on him, he didn't evade the question, he tackled it directly. "Fred represents the core reason I'm here," he stated, not murmured, not hesitated, declared openly, a statement, a firm position. And his words didn't stop there. Hamilton continued saying, "We're united in this journey." Those 5 words hold significant meaning, particularly in an organization like Ferrari, where togetherness is frequently the first victim of disappointment. He confessed things weren't ideal. He acknowledged modifications were happening, but instead of blaming others or distancing himself, as many racers might do, Hamilton stood firmly next to Vasseur and declared, "We progress as one. I'm certain Fred is the individual to guide us to victory, so that's final." No uncertainty, no wavering, just a straightforward message to the doubters. Cease the guessing, this won't occur. And that's massive because Lewis Hamilton understands how this sport operates. He's been within a championship organization at Mercedes, witnessed the internal maneuvering at McLaren, and now he's positioned at Ferrari's heart, staying strong when most would flee. Despite disappointing outcomes, despite mounting skepticism, despite former racers like Derek Warwick publicly hinting he might be contemplating leaving, Hamilton is increasing his commitment. "I've recently begun my time with Ferrari. I'm committed for multiple seasons. I'm dedicated for the extended period." Those aren't statements from someone planning departure. They're words from someone invested in a dream, devoted to the endeavor, and completely synchronized with its leadership. And that's what makes this situation so significant, because while news reports cry emergency and supporters doubt everything, Hamilton is communicating, "Be patient, allow us to perform." Let us construct, cease encouraging the disorder, and begin concentrating on our objective. He realizes championship organizations require time. They need framework, consistency, and that's why he spoke clearly. Replacing Vasseur isn't something he's considering. That's not something I would support, he said directly. Bringing in fresh individuals, new staff, requires adjustment time, and the effect that creates is substantial. That's not simply backing Vasseur. That's safeguarding Ferrari's reconstruction core. And all this happens as the Canadian Grand Prix approaches, a track requiring confidence, accuracy, and complete faith in your vehicle. Ferrari needs more than just a positive outcome. They must halt their decline. They must prove they still maintain direction. And during a weekend that could easily become overwhelmed by politics and alarm, Hamilton's statement might be the only factor maintaining team stability. Because through just one media session, he changed the story. The speculation about Vasseur's removal was quieted. The rumors of discord within Ferrari were suppressed. The media chaos was stopped, at least temporarily. Does this indicate all issues are resolved? Obviously not. The car still needs more speed, the organization still lags behind its competitors, and the championship is drifting away. But what has shifted is the mood, the atmosphere. Hamilton has provided Vasseur something extremely valuable: room to breathe, public confidence, an endorsement from one of the most respected figures in the paddock. And that delivers a definite message, not only to supporters and journalists, but to Ferrari's executives. This isn't the time for upheaval. It's the moment for trust. Because if Hamilton backs Vasseur so completely, then perhaps, just perhaps, there's still a larger strategy in development. One that hasn't succeeded yet, but might if given the opportunity to complete what they initiated. So what happens now? That response awaits just ahead on the challenging streets of Montreal. The Canadian Grand Prix transforms into more than just another competition. It becomes an examination, a test of Ferrari's determination, an assessment of Vasseur's guidance, and a measure of whether Hamilton's impressive display of allegiance can convert into real progress on the circuit. Because be certain, Canada is a track that offers no tolerance for errors. The tight corners, harsh curbs, and mercilessly solid barriers require perfect execution. Trust in the machinery is crucial, and for an organization that's recently spent more energy managing controversy than racing rivals, it's the ideal setting to either quiet the critics or amplify their voices further. If Ferrari produces a solid showing, if Hamilton discovers competitive speed, if Leclerc maintains his improving momentum, and if the strategic crew performs without issues, it will seem like a crucial moment. Hamilton's statements in Montreal will be viewed as more than just publicity control. They'll be remembered as a defining moment, a driver supporting his team leader when everyone questioned both, a display of steady leadership during chaotic times. However, if things collapse again, if they're eliminated from competition by the 10th lap, if the car proves non-competitive, or if organizational errors return, then the pressure Hamilton temporarily deflected will come back with greater force. And this time, even his unwavering loyalty might not be sufficient to protect Vasseur from examination. Still, one aspect is completely evident. Lewis Hamilton shows no signs of retreating. He's not stepping back from this challenge. He's not allowing media coverage to control his story. He's established himself within Ferrari and announced clearly that he's committed to building success, regardless of how long it requires, regardless of how challenging it becomes, and right now that conviction might be this team's most precious resource. The Canadian Grand Prix is more than just a competition. It's a reflection. A moment that will reveal precisely where Ferrari stands and how much influence Hamilton's support truly holds. If the organization can respond to his guidance, unite behind his message, and discover ways to restore competitive performance to the results, they might begin climbing out of this early season difficulty. However, regardless of the outcome, this narrative is nowhere near finished. The pressure, the consequences, the internal struggle for control, this is merely the opening. So ensure you press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Is Hamilton's faith in Vasseur warranted, Or is Ferrari approaching yet another complete reorganization? Whatever unfolds next, you'll want to be present to witness it, because if Montreal produces disappointing results, the repercussions could transform Ferrari's entire future, and if it goes well, it might signal the beginning of something far more significant.